Have you ever just thought, what if we could start over? Build a society totally from scratch? Well, today we're going to explore a really fascinating blueprint for doing exactly that, a community model presented by Feng. Let's dive in. But really, think about it. If you had a completely blank slate, what would be your non-negotiables? What are the absolute core principles you would build everything else on top of? That's the exact question we're digging into here. So this particular model is called the second home, and the goal is pretty ambitious: to create a totally self-contained ideal society that operates on 8 core principles. Principles that are way different from the world most of us know. So let's break down this blueprint. Okay, first up, the social blueprint. This is all about the rules that shape how people interact, how they build relationships, and basically how they live together day in and day out.
The very first characteristic, rule number 1, is all about social harmony. It makes the emotional health of the entire group the absolute top priority.
The core idea here is that any conflict between individuals has to be resolved in a way that protects the well-being of the whole group. This makes sure that supportive, positive relationships aren't just a nice-to-have, they're the very bedrock of the community. It's not just a goal, it's a foundational rule.
All right, the second social principle. This one is a big one. It completely rethinks one of our most fundamental institutions, the family.
In this model, the private, nuclear family, as we know it, just disappears. Instead, raising children becomes a shared responsibility for everyone. Every single child is seen as a child of the entire community. Just think about the implications of a shift like that.
And the third social principle, well, it tackles that classic push and pull we all know, the one between the individual and the group.
So personal freedom is definitely a thing here, but it's always tied to responsibility. The idea is that true freedom isn't just doing whatever you want. Instead, it's found in contributing to the group's well-being. Your actions are your own, for sure, but they're always weighed against how they impact everybody else.
Okay, so we've got the social structure down. But how does a community like this actually function? How does it keep the lights on? That brings us to its economic engine, the principles of work, property, and production. Characteristic number 4 tackles the whole idea of ownership head-on, and honestly, it's a real game changer. Get this, private property is completely eliminated. All resources, and we're talking about everything from the land and tools to housing and food, are owned collectively by everyone. And things are distributed to people based on their need, not based on wealth or status. Now, if everything is owned by the group, you can probably guess that the very idea of labor has to be totally redefined, right? In this system, there's no money. Plain and simple. You don't work for a paycheck. Instead, everyone just contributes to the community based on their ability. The motivation isn't to get rich, it's about making sure the whole community survives and thrives. So we have the social rules and the economic rules, but what's the glue that holds it all together? That brings us to our final section, the guiding philosophy. These are the core beliefs that give the community its purpose. Okay, characteristic number 6. This is where we move from the practical, day-to-day stuff into the deeper philosophical foundation of the whole thing. For a community this interconnected to actually work, everybody needs to be on the same page. That means having a single unified worldview that guides all the moral and ethical decisions. It ensures everyone is pulling in the same direction, towards some kind of higher purpose. So if you've got this one unified philosophy, how does that actually translate into governance? How are decisions made? Well, you can pretty much forget politics as we know it. This model bypasses all that. Decisions are either made through a group consensus, or they come from leaders who are seen as having the deepest understanding of that core philosophy. This makes sure every choice stays true to their values. And that brings us to the 8th and final principle. This one answers a huge question. How does this ideal society interact with the rest of the world? The short answer, it kinda doesn't. The second home isn't designed to blend in. This final principle is clear. The community has to maintain a hard boundary with the outside world. That separation is seen as absolutely essential to protect its unique culture and values from being watered down. Phew. Okay, so we've broken it all down piece by piece. Now let's just take a step back and see how all 8 of these principles fit together to create the complete picture. And here it is, the whole shebang. You have a society built on social harmony and communal families.
You have an economy based on collective ownership where labor is just contribution. And it's all held together by a shared worldview, a unique system of governance, and a firm separation from the outside. That's it. That is the complete blueprint for the second home.
It's a pretty radical vision, there's no doubt about it. And it kind of leaves us with one big question to chew on. If someone actually tried to build this community today, right now, what do you think would be its single greatest challenge to survival? Definitely something to think about.